Hello, I'm Natalie from Immaculate Confections, and today we are going to use our Rapid Rose kit to make a very special Valentine's rose. This was a video we recorded a couple of years ago, and as you can see from the pictures, what makes it special is that the inner petals have got this lovely little heart-like curl to them. It's a little twist on something we do all the time. You will find all of the tools and equipment, including the Rapid Rose kit, on our website. The link is in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I very much hope you enjoy the tutorial. So it's just an easy little rose with this sort of heart in the middle, because I thought, why not? It's cute and it's Valentine's. And if I move that ever so slightly, you should be able to see it there in the centre. So I'm going to show you how to make that. Right, so we don't need too many things for this. We've got our Rapid Rose support pad, a 9cm cutter, 20mm polystyrene ball that I have hot glued onto a 20 gauge wire there, but you could use a toothpick. Petal pad, of course, rolling pin, all the normal stuff. And then I'm going to use the magenta and the red to colour it. But the important bit here is the 9cm cutter, Rapid Rose, and then that 20mm polystyrene ball there. If you've got one of our Rapid Rose kits, then of course all those bits are in there. If you've got 30mm balls, then I would go for using the 10 or the 12cm cutter. I often start off things doing it with the 9cm and the 20mm ball because it's a really nice size. You get a nice finish size and it's a nice size to work with. And this in here, I'm just starting off with some of our magenta food colouring. You can see there's a fair bit, but not tons and tons of it. It is brighter and will go further than you think. So I always say start off with a bit because you can always add more, but you can't take it away. So I will just start off kneading that in. So you can see we have got a lovely bright pink just there, and now I'm going to add a little bit of our red, and it's just going to give that sort of ruby tone to the colour. So again, a fair amount, but not tons and tons of it, because these are nicely concentrated, so you don't need too much. And in fact, I might go for just a little bit more of the red there. And like I said, the trick is to not add too much because you will get a nice deep colour. And quite often, because I think it's easy to assume that you're going to need loads and loads and loads, so you chuck it all in and then you end up with a really sort of smushy paste because you've put so much extra. It's not liquid, is it? But it's wetter than what the paste is. And remember that your colours will develop and get a little bit stronger with time too. If you find that you've popped a load of colour into your paste and it does go too soft and sticky, then you can put a little bit of Tylo powder into it, or CMC or whatever. What would it be? CMC, Gumtex, Tylo or Gum Trag. Just a teeny tiny little bit, and that will help strengthen your paste back up from being too squashy. But don't put too much or you just end up with a solid lump that it's really hard to work with. So it's finding that balance. So I am going to roll and cut out 3 of these. So let's do the first one. I'm just going to move that out of the way because I'm always terrified when I'm rolling that I'm going to send things flying. So I'm just rolling this out, and it's nice and thin. You know, plenty thin enough that we've got a really delicate look to it, but equally not so thin that we're making it impossible to work with because it's just going to tear and rip for us. And we just turn it over, a little bit of corn flour on the back. Oh, don't stick, there we are. And in fact, I'll just pop a little bit on the front there so that I can handle it without it sticking. You will notice that I have a pot of corn flour and a fluffy brush. The reason that I do that is because I get a lot more control over how much corn flour I'm using. Oh, what have I done there? Hang on. That's annoying, but actually it doesn't matter. and you will see why in a moment. So to get a nice clean cut with your cutters, we will make sure there is a little cornflower on the back. Make sure that it is moving around nicely. Get that nice and thinned out. And then I'm going to press firmly, make sure that I'm pressing firmly all round, and then give it a wiggle. And can you hear that the noise changes? And that just means that the plastic of the cutter has hit the board and you're going to get a nice clean cut there. So I can remove the excess. And then if you find that it's not coming out the cutter, you can just sort of run your finger around like so, and you will get a lovely clean cut. Now the one piece of equipment that I didn't mention before is one of these, which is a veining stick. Because it's black, I reckon there is no chance that you can be able to see it on the camera there, but what it is it's tapered, as you can see, and it's got this lovely, what's the word I'm looking for? Wibbly pattern on it, rippled sort of wibbly pattern that's going to give our petals veins. You always want to work with it in an arc, so it's not straight up and down, but it's in an arc, and that is going to give you nice veins that sort of follow the shape of the petals, like so. Or grooves. Groove is the perfect word, thank you. And what I tend to do is start in the middle and then work down like so, and then up. And that is simply because if you start right on the edge, how much do you want to bet it won't do it now? But there we are. You end up curling the petal up with it, which you don't want. So I always find it is easier to go in the middle and then up and then down. This next bit, which is to pop them on your petal pad and just go around those edges a little bit. And you can see, soft wave, not looking for anything too major there. And I'll do it with this one and this one. I would definitely, if you've not got a veining stick, I would definitely remember you get one and add it to your kit. We have them on the website. They're so useful because you can use them to vein anything basically, so it saves you needing to have dozens upon dozens of different silicone veiners and stuff. There's a lot of things you can do with them, and they're very useful, very, very useful. Right, so those are our petals ready. I'm going to pop that to one side and take just a little bit of paste, and we want a ball about the size of a chickpea, give or take, like so. And I've got my trusty water pen. So when I said at the beginning this is all the equipment you need, I mean, I was I was lying a little bit. Trusty water pen, and I'm just going to wet the top of my polystyrene bud there. Right, so I've wet the top of the bud. I'm going to form that into a cone shape, and the easiest way to make a cone is a ball, and then you just roll on the one side of it and you're going to get this lovely even little cone shape. And then you're just going to squish it on top of the polystyrene ball there. And you can see I'm being really rough with it, and I've got bits of paste that are coming off on my fingers, but you get this nice smooth join. So we've got a little pixie hat here, right? So we've made him a little hat. The trick with this is that you don't want it sticking up really tall, and you don't want it too short and fat. You want it so that it is in proportion with the shape of the ball, so that you've made sort of a perfect teardrop shape. First thing we're going to do is make the centre of the rose. So we are going to use this to make the 2 central petals and then these 2 that are outside it just there. First thing we need to do is roll back these 2 petals here. So can you see that these are they're the petals that are at sort of 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock. And do you see how I've rolled them back, right? So I'll do it once more. I've rolled the whole side like that. And it's the top of those 2 petals, so the part there and there, that are going to make the inside curl of the heart. So we can pop just a little bit of water just underneath where those curls are. And again, you can stick your veining stick back in, and it's just a tiny little bit just to hold it down. And I'm using the veining stick inside to curl it and press it, because if I press on top of that, I'm going to squash the shape. So that is the first bit. It does indeed look like a little man or an angel. You're absolutely right. Pop it onto your rapid rose pad, and then we'll wet the middle here. Do the little lines on the edges, and then you just want to stick a bit of water on the side of those there. And then this, just wet round the sides. So don't wet the very tip of the bud, but just wet the side bits. And actually this petal, just pull it off because we don't need that one.
I didn't expect you to do that.
No. So in other words,
you just ripped his head off.
Behead the angel. Make of that what you will. Right. So you're going to lift up your 2 curly ones first, okay, and pop them in place like so. And can you see that that's starting to form that very basic shape? But we need to take just very gently with your fingers and just curl those outside bits back, and then we can press those 2 bits in. And this one is very much a case, they're all going to come up a bit different. The way that they're curly whirly, I think they're a bit sort of Tim Burton-ish, which is nice. And you're going to have to use your hands to make the shape, and you're going to have to be brave about poking and prodding and pulling the flower paste around so that it makes the shape that you want it to. And I think that that is about okay. Now these next 2, we're going to pull them right round. So can you see that that is going on top there, and then this side comes like this, so that it makes that same shape with the 2 halves, but it's just hugging round the outside, for want of a better phrase. And then we'll do the same with the other one, like that. And here, what I ended up doing before, and I'll do it again now, is sticking a little bit more water on the back so that I can just prod that edge in, and then we'll come and just curl these edges slightly. And it is very, very much, like I said, you need to poke and prod until you get everything sitting in the right place, and you end up with something that looks more or less heart-shaped. But you know, these take a little bit of imagination, as always. And we can come and just adjust if we need to, as always with the favourite pokey tool. You can see on this one, this petal here, there's underlapping, if that's a word. The one next to it, it's not important which way round that happens, or if it happens at all. You just need to get them on so that you've got that sort of heart shape. And that is it for the centre. And again, that you can see, I'm just coming very gently, curling those edges back like that. And I may well just prod that bit there slightly, and I think that's it. So we'll take that away, turn it over, and just press the back down. And now, for the love of all that is holy and flower pasty, only press where the ball is. Right? If you've ever seen me make a rose before, which many of you probably have because I've made a lot of roses, the one thing that I always wax lyrical about is don't squash the petals. When you make them, and especially if you are new to sugar flowers, you're always frightened it's going to fall apart, so you start squashing it and squishing the top in so that it stays attached. You can see there is absolutely no need to whatsoever. If you're working with flower paste, it is more than strong enough to hold itself in place. If you've rolled it nice and thin, then those petals are going to dry quickly, and they weigh barely anything, so they don't need any help staying up. But with this in particular, if you squash the top, you're going to squash the heart and it won't look like a heart anymore. So just please, please, please don't squash it. Only put any pressure on the ball bit at the bottom there where the polystyrene is. So I'm going to take another one of my prepared petals, and well, first thing I'm going to do with these is just pull off 2 of the petals so that we have 3 left. I will then flip it over in the normal rapid rosy way, wet the centre and do a little line up the edge of each petal like so. We will pop this through the middle, and then we're going to attach these again the normal way that I do with the rapid roses and stuff. The only thing you need to watch is that one of your 3 needs to come and like hug around the top of the rose, because it will look a bit peculiar if you've got too many of them making that central shape, if you know what I mean. So we'll start with this one. I'm just going to lift it up and attach that one side so that this side stays open. Spin it round a little bit and repeat so that that side is open, and then lastly we'll do that one. So we have got 3 open sides and a naughty petal there that wants to flop down, but never mind. We'll then take the open bit and attach it onto his neighbour, and then this bit there goes on there, and as you can probably guess, that last bit comes on top there. So that's given us our next 3 petals just there. Turn it over, press the base, and again, super important, only press where the polystyrene ball is, don't squash the top. You can take your Dresden tool, spoon end, and we can come in and those inside edges of the petals, just give it a little press, and again I'm pressing down near the bottom where that polystyrene ball is so that that is affixed, and then the open edges of the petals we can just curl back. And you see, because I left the petals sitting there, they've got to that lovely sort of leather hard phase where you can still manipulate them, you can still get them to be and change what shape they are and curl the edges back, but they're not flopping and they're not going to go anywhere. And the thing here, if you think about it, with any petal on any flower, but especially with the roses, each petal has an open edge and a closed edge. So this side of it can't open because it's stuck under this bit here. This side can. So that's the side that you're going to focus on curling back. And as always, pokey tool just to come and adjust, do what you need to, and so on. This is our last one, and can you see, it's a really hard thing to show on video, but it's that lovely half dry phase. So we'll turn it upside down. Always turn it upside down, because when you do the ball tool, you can see there, you make it curl towards you. Turn it upside down so that when you attach it to the rose, the petals are curling away from the centre, which is what we want. We'll pop our rose through the middle, and then we're going to do a very similar thing, starting with attaching that one side of the first petal, and you can pick whichever one you want, but I always find it's easier to work away from me and press in than it is to use my thumb at the front here. So that's the first one. Twist it a little, take the next one, but the difference this time is that straight away we'll press that on there. So again, we'll take the next one, pop it on and close that up immediately. And the only reason for doing it slightly different is that trying to get 5 petals to stand up like a helicopter is a fantastic way of putting it, would just be a bit tough, so we just do it in sequence. So again, that bit goes inside, close that on top, that one goes inside there, close that on top, and then we should have our very last open bit goes on top of the very first bit that we attached. And again, we will turn that over and press down just the base. And then we'll do what we did before, pokey tool, and we're going to come in and just press on that inside edge. So you can see there that I'm just slipping it inside the petals and just pressing down that inside edge. This one doesn't want to stay, there's always one. And then we'll do the same thing, just curling back those edges. And the reason that I curl these edges once they're on the petals instead of doing it before is simply because we want this to be a big blooming blousey thing. We don't want it to be too structured. This petal doesn't want to stay put, so I'm actually going to do a little bit of water just there, and I'm going to pop my pokey tool inside, and from the inside press it with my finger here just to get that one to stick, because he's really annoying me. One really important thing is just remember, take your pokey tool, go all the way inside the petal, all the way down that gap, and open it from the bottom. So again, I can do it with this one here. Don't ever grab the petal and bend it back, because there is no such thing as a rose whose petals are that shape. You just want to make sure that any openness comes from the root of the petal. It's not just bent back at a weird angle, because that won't look quite right. So our little rose has been hanging upside down, and yes, that is the cheese making frame, but it's excellent for hanging the flowers. And can you see it has dried enough that at this point I can come, and again you're poking from the bottom to open everything up, should you wish, like so, to get this lovely open blousey wild little fella. So there we go. So I'm going to make a couple of little leaves, and then we'll dust. I have one I made earlier that's nice and dry that I will dust for you. Right, we'll do a few little leaves just quickly, and then we will dust. So I've just got a little bit more white paste, same mixture as before, and I'm going to use some of our leaf green colour in it. Where has that gone? And it is the same thing. Don't be skimpy with it, but equally don't go and chuck loads and loads in, because you need less than you think. As you can see, a little bit's going to go a long way. Now I've got 2 rose leaf cutters here, because I know that one of them's a bit naff, but I can't remember which one.
Are you just using squires?
So it's a mixture of Squires and the ultra fine flower paste by Simply Heaven. Right, this is the naff one. I damaged it, so I'll just do a couple of little leaves to show you. Oop. So you can use whichever veiners and cutters you wish. This is from the FMM set, and I've got one of the little FMM veiners. So these are the ones that I always use and that we have on the website. Elaine, that is a lovely comment saying that you've made this look so easy and quick to make. It is that easy and quick to make. Like, don't get me wrong, it takes a little bit of practice, as does everything, but it is about being smart about where you're putting your time and effort into, if you know what I mean, so that the flowers just don't take forever, because I do not possess that sort of patience, basically. So this is just a couple of little bits of 28 gauge wire. It's not 28, sorry, 26. Do excuse me. And I've got some glue. And we're just going to make a little twiddle for it. So I will dip my wire in the glue, and I tend to just dab it off on the back of my hand. A little bit of paste there, and we're just going to twist that on. If you're sticking, then go for a wee bit of Trex or petal base there. So that's one little twiddle. I've got another little sausage there, and I'll show you a slightly different way you can do it, which is to insert the wire. And if you don't get on with doing it with your fingers, then pop it onto your petal pad, and you can do it that way. Whichever is easiest for you. Pop that on top and just give it a good firm press. Do it with the other one. And then what I like to do is just take my ball tool and just run around the edges once or twice. And the trick with doing this with leaves is just to make sure that you go in bottom to top, following the way that the leaf grows. That's what I'm trying to say. I just popped a little bit of glue on there, and then we're just going to come and press our leaves on. And what I tend to do is just use the side of my little finger to press it on, like so. You can pinch the base if you wish. I quite like doing that because it just gives it a little bit of shape. And then you can just sort of dry these with a bit of shape to them. So we could let that one flop over the edge slightly. We could pop him there, just leaning on the edge of the Dresden tool, just something so that they're not completely flat. So I'm going to start off by mixing some of our violet pink with some of our ruby red, just to make a pinker ruby, for want of a better phrase. And we're just going to come, usual thing with the roses, and just dust it on from the edges coming in. And I'm being fairly liberal with it because it's a very similar colour to the rose. At this stage we're enhancing the colour as opposed to changing it. Making a mess. So that's that all over, and you can see if I grab the one we just made as well, that it just deepens and intensifies the colour a little bit. So it's nothing drastic at this stage. How long do I leave it to dry before dusting? So I tend to leave them overnight. I prefer to dust when things are completely dry so that you don't accidentally damage anything or whatever. So I made these, I don't know, yesterday or Friday, I think, something like that. But yes, overnight I would normally do. I'm just going to take a little bit of purple now. And can you see with the dust, you're always taking it out the pot onto your kitchen paper, and then it's almost like you're trying to rub it in. And the reason for that, the best way to describe it, is that you are getting the dust in the bristles instead of on the bristles. So we can come back around those edges, and it's these delicate little brush strokes, just building the colour up right on the very edges of the petals. Because this is what's going to start to give us some definition and a nice sort of velvety look to it. Again, just a little, because you can always add more, but you can't take it away. So that is it with a little bit of purple, and you can see it just starts to give it that definition. And then the last thing we're going to do here is a tiny bit of black. Now you're going to pick it up on your brush, and then you're going to dust it off again, because you really do just want a smidgen, absolute smidgen. And this again, we are just coming round just the very edge of the edges. So that is just this little tiny hint of black. And in fact, I think in a few places there I've gone a bit heavy on the black. So I'm going to pick up some of my ruby red and violet pink mix and just come over the edges again, and that is just going to soften down that black colour ever so slightly. And I know it seems bonkers and a bit scary to be putting black on it, but it makes such a difference to giving definition to those edges. Like so, and then that shows up. It just shows, you just get the definition. It just looks really nice. I get a bit excited about the petal dusts, and I think that's it. It doesn't need too much more there. I've got a few leaves that I made earlier, and for these I'm just going to use the deep green, and that's it, I think, because the main event here is the rose, not the leaves. So I'm going to take a little bit of the deep green again, sort of rubbing it into the brush, and we're just going to come from the outside towards the centre with that colour there. I'll just do 3 little ones for this. So we have that, and then I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of black again, just to darken and define those edges. And as always, like, botanically correct is pretty much never my goal when I'm making sugar flowers. I want them to look pretty rather than anything else, and therefore I find that just a little bit of black on the edge here is just going to give us a extra bit of definition. I am just going to cut this, actually I'm not going to run it through the tape shredder on this occasion, so I'm just going to wrap it around my fingers, pull my fingers out, and I'm going to do it in sort of roughly 1/3 and 2/3 because that's be a useful size. I'm going to attach 2 of my leaves together. So I'm just going to do them like that. So there's one slightly higher, one slightly lower, and off to the side slightly. Just there. So I'll just attach the tape and bring it around. So I'm going to add another piece of wire to this just to make it a little bit stronger and longer. So it's 20 gauge again, and I will start off with some tape, and I'm just going to hold my second piece of wire alongside and just wrap the tape round. And then we'll bring it down a little bit. You can, of course, if you wanted to add a calyx, you can. Remember that with this rose, because it has the heart in the middle, it has a front. You wouldn't want to arrange it with the leaves upside down, so it has a front. We can take our little leaves, pop a bend in them, you can see it's almost a right angle there. Hold it alongside, and then just bring that tape round. Bring the tape down, and remember when you're taping, if you've got it held at a 90-degree angle, all you're going to do is it will just wrap up on itself. So you want it at sort of 45 degrees to your stem, so that as you wrap, the tape will travel down. And then we can add that other little leaf in. Let's see. Yeah, around about here I think. Might even go just a little bit lower. Wrap the tape around. And that, my friends, is a perfect, cute and easy Valentine's rose with a little heart in the middle.
Lovely.
So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial making that special Valentine's rose. Don't forget to come and join our group on Facebook. It's called Natalie's Cake Studio. We're a very friendly bunch, and we're always there for help and advice with all of your cake making adventures should you need it. Give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon next time.